the party that he has just left, because we see, and maybe Christie's depressed about this whole thing. So you don't know. We put that conjecture there because I know for a fact that Wilshcombe is not going to make a move to boldly speak about running because he and Christie too close. He's not going to make that big bold move unless he has seen that something is happening on the inside that makes him know, well, let me say mine now just in case, because the way this look, X, Y, and Z. I'm not talking for him. I'm not putting words in his mouth. I'm reading his action, knowing how he is tentative about these things. But
Wilshcombe, one last thought to the leadership of the FNM. If I was Mr. Hubert Minnis and they with Rollins and Moss, I would do what Linden do in the certain time. Since they done say they head away from the PLP in the next election, I would put Christie in a corner. I wouldn't run nobody against them and have him to think. So either they gonna walk across the line if it come close because they don't want to go back to the PLP, and that would be a power play for Mr. Hubert Minnis to look at. Why run against them too if they leave the party?
Yes, you're right. That's not a bad strategy. But guess what?
And let Christie them fight it out, because the people in Fort Charlotte love what Andre Wallin stood for when he stood up in the House of Assembly.
Very true.
So like I said, and Greg Moss has a chance in Freeport, speaking against the PLP at this time as Freeport is suffering. So if I was Mr. Hubert Minnis, I'll sit down and I'll play the great chess game. I'm not going to run against them too. They're ready to be on the opposition side. If we lose, it's going to add more to us.
What you're talking about is a ways off. A lot of other things have to happen before Minnis can make that decision. I appreciate your call.
You have a great one, man.
Thank you very kindly. 325-023516. We're talking politics today. I'm deliberately giving you a day and a diet of politics because there's so many serious business that we've got to get down to. I figure if this is a distraction to talk about it, then let's fall into that line. Deal with the distraction, then move on to the business at hand, because there's a lot of things happening. For instance, today, Fred Mitchell has responded to Shivago Lang, a former minister in the Ingham administration, who has taken exception to the government doing the things that they're doing along the lines of cleaning up the country with immigration. And we have been putting pressure right here from Hard Copy on the parties, the people that are in charge of this country, that the government must do something and will be well advised to take this vexing immigration matter in hand. We just said that on Monday. We've been sustaining the immigration topic every Monday. So saying that and a lot of other things, the government has been doing some things. We have to admit it. They've been doing some things along the lines of immigration, and Mitchell has taken the oath today that, listen, he's going to keep it up. He's not going to be distracted by lying them now, talking about this could cause people to get an impression that investors will not come in because of our immigration policies. So these are serious things that we've got to talk about. But I figure today is Wednesday, middle of the week. You perhaps want to fall into this whole thing too. So I'm obliged to oblige you on the topic of the politics that you see in newspapers that everybody's talking about, who could possibly be the next leader. There's a lot of lobbying going on right now. And the surrogates, there are two surrogates that are out there from the PLP, George Smith and Valentine Grimes, creating all of this thing because they have their own agendas as to what they want. And they can call me today too, so we can talk some stuff if they feel like it. 325-023516, 325-024243. and 325-025253. We're talking politics. What do you think? The question is, if what you're reading in the papers today, and if what you're hearing about Brave Davis and Wilshcombe wanting to run for the leadership in the PLP, does it mean that they have spot something that you are not privileged to, that Christie must be tired or ready to go, and so they're now gearing up for the big showdown in October? What are your thoughts? And if that's the case, does it mean that people will be more likely to stick around with the PLP since leadership may change? What are your thoughts? Hard Copy, how are you?
Steve, how are you?
Good.
Knowledge here, man. Very, very interesting. Your thoughts there. Well, you really know how to do it. But anyway, let me put it to you this way. As it relates to Shivago Lang taking exception, I don't care for the Progressive Liberal Party philosophy and most of their policies. But Mr. Lang can go sit down on that one. The man's doing an excellent job.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. Now, as it relates to if Perry Christie were removed, or the Right Honorable, let me give the office that respect.
Absolutely.
If he were to bow out, step aside, removed, however that works,
it doesn't make any difference. Remember when Grambling used to say that silence give consent?
Yep.
The Barmsey issue, the Alfred Gray issue, and everybody knows the list. It goes on and on. Rollins and Moss were the only two individuals, and for whatever reason, maybe their aspirations, they both said about being muffled and muffled.
Mm-hmm.
It relates to expressing themselves. Everybody else in the party toed the party line, even though so many things that have occurred, carnival and all that, nobody's spoken out. It is obvious in that instance that it's not about the people, it's about the party. So if we talk it, regardless of who's removed, silence give consent.
So you say no matter if they were to get rid of Christie or if Christie was to just quietly go off into the night, you're saying that the party is still loaded with baggage and problems that they would have created that would send them back to the hinterland.
I say all these coconut trees, construct a raft, get them sufficient supplies, set the whole crew adrift. Set them all adrift.
So you don't think that people are inclined to go with the governing party, satisfy Mitchell, who's doing a good job in immigration, and give them one more term in office because Mitchell says that they deserve it? You don't think that all that works together? Since Mitchell is doing this good job, since Mitchell is the one who's pleaded to the public to give them a chance on the floor of the House of Assembly, and Christie and them having this little thing now, leadership, you don't think that people will be inclined to follow suit and keep their eyes focused on the governing party and return them to office?
See, sadly, in the grand scheme of things, I was talking to an elderly person the other day. Not ashamed to say my roots, by way of my mother, are in Blanketown, Andros. You know what that means, crab all day.
Yeah.
I'm the only individual ever, I'm talking first, second, third cousins, to vote anything but PLP. The only one.
Wow.
And with that all being said, I was talking to an older person today, and it's sad, though, that party appears, and then the conversation has changed. Some people's eyes are being opened now. A lot of the younger people, the people my age, your age, they're starting to see things differently. But with all the gripe that this older person had to say, diehard PLP, you know what they do when they're disgruntled with the PLP?
What? What do they do?
Just don't vote.
They don't vote.
You go ahead and you do a census on your website or on your show. And a lot of them won't be ashamed to tell you, if my party doing nonsense, we just ain't voting, but I ain't voting for nobody else.
You know something? You are onto something, because I've been noticing across the dial, right, that people have not been saying anything positive about the governing party. And there are many of them who are diehard fans and supporters, but they've not lent a helping hand to try to help bolster the image of the party in these dark times. The last 3 years it's not been that pretty. They've done some things. They've not been all full of that impact. And normally you would have the choir sing their praises, that, you know, this is that happening, man, you all can't see. It seems to be such a disconnect now that there's no hue and cry, or there's no praise coming forward from their own generals. And it cannot be that they're telling their generals to be quiet, because I'm sure, just like they're trying to flip the script right now with this talk about running for leadership, just like how they're trying to flip the script, I'm sure they would love to hear their supporters on the radio, in the newspaper, talking in great support for them. But that's not even happening. Should we read anything into that?
They just don't vote. I can take this a step further, and I'm going to be very careful with the way that I word this. As it relates to Mr. Davis ever being considered as prime minister in this country, I'm going to say that you know, and I know, it has absolutely nothing to do with the Bahamian populace. He will never see the light of day as prime minister.
Is that right?
There are some external sources here that have invested in our country very heavily, some that we rely on. He will never, I'm going to leave that there, and you know as well as I do, he will never see the light of day as prime minister in this country. He can try all he wants to. Obi Wisdom is not ready.
And Obi isn't ready, and Brave will never see the light of day.
Dave's not going to see it. He just won't. At this juncture, Steve, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. You know what the conversation we should be having? We should be talking about, as a people now, what it is we do come 2017 that is going to change this system.
Well, listen, I've been doing that for weeks. I said to you today that I'm going to indulge the people who want to go and be distracted with this political thing just for one day. Can we do that? And that's why I'm saying, yes, we've been consistent talking about the things that plague us and how we're going to fix them.
The system is killing us, Steve.
Absolutely.
Because, and the fellas aren't ashamed in saying it. This Professor Tinker, not that it is anything that wasn't considered before, but he kind of highlighted, I don't know if he's been on your program or not.
Yeah, he's been here before.
Okay. And I recall him saying the party guidelines say, regardless of your views or your conscience, or whatever your moral compass is, you follow the party line.
Well, that's how it is.
In the world, Steve, could that ever benefit us as a people?
Well, you know, we've got to change the structure of that. We've got to change the whole 9 yards with that in both political parties. That's just the way that the system is so structured, what they call the Westminster system. That's how this thing is structured. But, you know, really, we ought to mature to the point now where we can speak our conscience, speak our minds, and the revolution that the revolutionary processes that you saw in the House of Assembly that the fellas them call rude was exactly that. Renwood Wells speaking how he feels, Rollins speaking how he feels, and Greg Moore speaking how he feels.
And Bradley Roberts came out right afterward and said, shut your mouth, you're being rude, govern yourself accordingly. But here's what I propose, Steve, to my fellow countrymen. And I ain't ashamed, but here's what I'm going to put out there. I don't like to compare, I've said this before, I don't like to compare the Bahamas with the United States. That's apples and banana. They don't go together. But my thing is this. The 10th Amendment allows constituents to recall a malfunctioning representative.
Yes.
Mr. Christie, if Mr. Minnis, and if Mr. Granville McCartney are serious, and they want to show the Bahamian people that they are truly interested in what is best for us. When you, Steve, if you hire somebody to work at your station and they fall short, what you do? You may give them a couple of conversations, maybe write them up once or twice. But if they fail in you in the capacity that
they got to go.
What do you do, Steve?
They got to go.
So this is my point.
Yep.
This is what I'm going to ask my people to consider. If they are truly serious now about just eliminated the old practices, the same nonsense that has us in the state that we are in now, if you ain't performing, the people should have a right to say, listen, let's do a review. Call it midway through. Don't be too hasty, because you know we are fickle people. After 2 minutes, if you do something make us mad, we won't roll you out.
Yeah.
Give it a midway mark, 2.5 years. And if the person elected, leave it up to the constituents. I'm not talking about the way you function in cabinet. That's a totally separate matter, because they can go hand in hand. If the member that you elected is not serving your interest, and I'm not talking personal interest, I'm talking about the community's and the country's interest, we should have a right as a people to say, listen, bro, go sit down. Let's do something else.
I got you.
All right, sir. I
feel you. Thanks for your call. 325-023546 is how you can call me today. I figured that you want to talk about some politics. So since everybody has approached me most of the day saying, what you think of this, what you think of that, you know, to be quite honest with you, I told them that I don't know what all of this talk is all about. I think that Wilshcombe may have sparked it by doing an interview that says that, and he was only being honest, Wilshcombe was only being honest, that, and I believe that Wilshcombe will be able to lead by distinction. There's no question in my mind about it. This is what he expressed. And as a result of that, the media started a frenzy of feeding on this and trying to find out who will do what and who will do the other thing. And the whole idea is to unseat Christie. Now, you know how human nature is. Christie perhaps saw Wilshcombe since that time. They would have already met in cabinet, at least, I believe, by yesterday. And I don't know what happened, but I see where Wilshcombe has kind of like acquiesced a little bit just to fix his statement a little bit clearer that says that, well, you know, if Christie does not run or isn't going to contest, I will be to contest. Brave Davis said basically the same thing, that, you know, if Christie doesn't contest, that I will contest. So do we really have something going here as far as this leadership is concerned? The other thing that I put on the table for you, just for you to get involved and to not lose beat, don't lose track of what is happening, because politics is such a strange thing. You never know where this may be leading because you're not on the inside. So you've got to pay attention. So every now and then we've got to pause and pay attention to some things that people are saying. Now, why do we need to pay attention very carefully at this time? Because Alfred Sayers is back in the mix. Sayers is obviously back in the mix based on newspaper reports. He wants to run. He wants to run now because Andre Rollins has resigned from the PLP, which means that Fort Charlotte seat is up for grabs eventually. though Rollins is not giving up the seat, eventually when it's time for the political showdown to happen, Sayers may be the person to go there for the PLP in Fort Charlotte. And this doesn't mean an automatic win by no stretch of the imagination, but it does mean that knowing Sayers, he's a fair man and people like him from both sides. But does he have what it takes to go back and do it all over again in a changing environment where people are not so interested in any long talk? They want to see what you come bringing. Don't come singing, come bringing. That's the kind of condition that we're in the Bahamas, because things tough, okay? Things tough, and that's how people are thinking. But with Sayers coming back, as is being advocated by one Valentine Grimes, I've got it from good goods that Grimes isn't really interested in Sayers coming back. Did you hear me? Grimes got his own thing that he has up his sleeve, is what I'm understanding, to have somebody else more close to him perhaps try to contest that seat in Fort Charlotte. And he's hoping that that Sayers will balk at it and say, well, he's not interested. But Sayers has said that he is interested. So that may have presented a problem for one of the surrogates. There's a serious politics that's being played. And on top of that, Sayers apparently in the newspapers this morning, I think it was The Guardian, said that not only is he interested in running again in Fort Charlotte, he is also interested in the leadership of the party. So that now brings about another scenario for this group called the governing PLP, because if Sayers is interested in that, that may be a paradigm shift right there within the confines of that party. And that may be the move, if he's really interested, to upset the entire apple cart. And those who have been waiting and hoping and wishing and praying may be undone if Sayers is in and he is able to contest for the leadership of the party. Interesting? You better believe it. Hard copy, how are you?
All right, sir. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, this is the first time I called you, right?
Now, hold on. You sound a little like you ain't sure if you want to be respectful of what I'm talking about.
No, I'm respectful of what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I'm listening now.
This is the first time I've called you, but I listen to you every day, okay? Hello?
I'm listening, brother.
Okay. And you always play tidbits of whatever people say, like what the Prime Minister said and whatever, okay?
I play sound bites, you mean?
Yeah, sound bites.
Yes,
right?
I got one to play in a minute.
Play the sound bite from an Abaco, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could beat the PLP now with Prime Minister Perry Christie, the poll.
You really believe that?
For those words he said, and everything he touched, it's going down. See, Bahama can never open. He put himself above God. He said that, what he said, you could pray to God, ask God for this, ask God for that, but you still got to come to him. That's
Man, I know.
Bahamas
I know Christie said that.
If you don't get rid of him, the Bahamas going down too. Thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate it. I don't know if Christie really said that. I've heard that reported. I don't recall that happening, unless it must have been on one of my off days that he compared himself. No, I wouldn't go that far. I think that what the gentleman's relating to would have been the time when Christie had been inundated by media about what the church had been saying, and he was saying basically that he had to go to God for himself. What I'm remembering is when he talked about some preacher saying something, and he says no preacher could save you, but maybe the guy knows what he's talking about. But what I recall was Christie saying no preacher could save you. He can't get you into heaven. And he said that I want to go to heaven so I can see my mummy again. And I said, Christie sound a little off with that. You remember that? And I said, well, he shouldn't sound off like that, because it just seemed like a strange statement at the time, one that I'd like to forget, but I do remember it. I don't recall what the gentleman is saying there, so I'm not so sure that happened. But he says, for the sake of conversation, that anybody could be Christie. Well, if anybody could be Christie, there's no need to worry about Minnis, because there's some who want to discard Minnis right away and say that, really, Minnis doesn't have what it takes. And I believe that they're giving Minnis a bum deal. I think that he is not showing a whole lot, but he may be doing a whole lot undercover. Again, you see people are coming out, young people are saying that they are looking for their chances under the Free National Movement. Well, Minnis is leading the Free National Movement. Minnis may be gutting it and cleaning it from without. We don't know that yet. We don't have all the facts on it, but we see some signs of it. And so it'll be foolhardy to just, in my opinion, just write Minnis off. I think Minnis is that quiet storm waiting to explode at the right time. Somebody said today, being very mischievous, this one George Smith. And I'm wondering, who this George Smith fella? George, you should call me, because really, I'm trying to figure you out. See, the media today don't know who these people are. This youthful media, they don't know who these people are. But George Smith got a whole lot to say about a lot of things. You know what he said today? He says that Minnis, he says, what happened? Christie them will beat Minnis anyhow because the FNM missed their chance when they didn't go with Loretta Butler because she's a far stronger leader than Minnis. That may be his opinion. But it's political mischief trying to make it look as if it's a walk in the park for the governing PLP party, since we're talking politics, because they are taking Minnis' quiet smiles and quiet demeanor for weakness. But Minnis is not a weak man, I can tell you that. Minnis is a fellow full of strength. So when we see these little fellas come around, and I say that deliberately, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, when we see these guys who are just really surrogates, who really should be home sitting down, relaxing themselves and minding grandchildren, they're all up in the business of the people, trying to influence what happens in this town, politically speaking, when both he and Grimes, Hemi Clear, have a lot of questions that all members of the media would like to sit down and ask them, why did these things happen in your time? Maybe that'll quiet them a bit, because they've created a lot of mischief pretending to be some big political advisors and the rest of it. And I'm saying this. Steve McKinney is saying it. And I would challenge both of them to come sit right with me so I can ask them some questions publicly about what the agenda is, considering the history in that same PLP. Scandalous history. And they talk and all this stuff, going against these young fellas, talking bad about them, calling them boys, et cetera, et cetera. No regard. You see, I take offense to it because me and those guys in the same age bracket, but not Andre, he's young. But Greg, and no, don't try that. That is an insult to all young people, the way that these two guys have been going on. What's really the agenda? And is Christie sending them to do this? Because I've heard that Christie told them to go do that. Now, that may not be correct, but that's what I heard. That Christie got these fellows out there talking about Sayers must do this, talking about get Rawlins out of here, and all this kind of stuff. This is our country too, we got to say, and that's what I'm saying. Just like they got to say, we got to say. But the media, the youthful media, would do well to do the background check. The archives of the Bahamas is full of information that can give them some insight. So that when we hear people like us who are in the public listening to all this garbage, we can at least say, well, that's only this one. That ain't nobody. When it comes to having some big political insight. Come now, let's be real. I'm telling you as it is. And if you don't believe me, call me 325-0235-6, 325-0242-43. Valentine Grimes and George Smith. You can call too, 325-0242-43. Because there's no use in trying to hit down and kill the young because you're trying to prolong your stay, when in fact the truth is that you had your time. Doesn't mean that you can't talk. It just means that I can express myself when I get totally ticked off about these little young reporters going to you off a coast like you know anything about this whole thing. It's a different time. Now, you can't say I've been challenging you. So please feel free to call. What's it all about? This is a country that we've got to run. And there are serious issues in this country that needs to be dealt with, but we want to talk some politics. So I'm giving you a day to talk some politics on Hard Copy. But if you're talking politics, let's talk real serious, hard-hitting politics. Since it's for all the marbles, and since people are totally pissed off in this country about the way things are going and that they can't get anything done. I was just talking on the radio yesterday with one Tony Miller, who can't get a license to do some things as a Bahamian in this country when he's met the requirements, But nobody can talk about that. There are many like him. These are serious things. Fred Mitchell is doing a fantastic job, I admit, in immigration. And if you heard me in the past talk about it, you've always heard me say that he's doing a fantastic job. Why are we having some people who should know about this immigration policy, ignoring it. Don't want to talk about it. Could it be because they're part and parcel of the misery and have had something to do with it in the past? Because Mitchell today, you see, Lang came out. We threw some bombshells last week or on Monday, and Lang answered. He is thinking that, boy, the government joking. Boy, the government ain't doing, they ain't doing some stuff. Why are they doing this? They want to do the Lang's words with that. They do this every time it comes to the election so that they can make the people believe that they're doing something. The government is doing its job because that's the mandate of the government. The people want the government to do that job. At least that's one thing that the PLP seems to be getting right. Focus on the immigration. But Lang may have had a response to this for other reasons. And he too may have a legitimate response because he may have felt it very, very dear to him when we talk about illegals, when we talk about people of Haitian descent. He may have taken offense to that. And so he's answered. He's in Freeport, and he can hear us. He can call us too. But the government is doing a good job. They can do a better job. They can do a better job, in my view, but at least they're doing something. We had an administration just recently that decided not to answer one single question about immigration in this country when we put it to them. Fred Simonet was the man in charge. We even made fun of it. Batter up just before the last election. You remember that? No answer, no nothing. Just a bunch of people got citizenship. We still don't know the amount. And it's perhaps done for votes. Now, Mitchell, them doing something completely opposite this time, it appears. And it appears that only the dog that's hit with the rock would be the one that holler, yow! Now, we notice with interest that Lang has begun to answer. And he had two letters to the two statements, I think, to the Tribune, talking about this problem. In reverse, almost like, he don't agree with what's going on. Well, I wonder why. Hard copy, how are you?
How are you, Mr. McKinney?
Very good, thanks.
And good evening to your listeners. Mr. McKinney, I just want to say that, you were right on, sir, when you said that you think that Rollins and Wells made a mistake as far as announcing that. I'm not going with the FNM because you could see that less than a week then they made that decision, they already out of the papers.
Yes, that's a mistake. That's youthful vigor and inexperience and lack of advice.
Yes, sir. So the papers are now, in my opinion, looking for something to replace it. And here is where the Obi Wilshcombe incident came in. Did you get a chance to listen to that show, sir?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, I listened to the show, and the question was posed to him, does he feel that he has the capacity to lead? He was on the show for maybe 2 hours.
Yes, of course.
All through the show, he said, we have a leader in Mr. Perry Christie. We support him. He's doing a good job. That's what and he avoided that question the entire show. The final question, the absolute last thing Mr. Wilshcombe said was, they said, well, Mr. Mint, you got to tell us, can you lead this country or whatever? And that's when he said, if I have been chairman, I've been all these different things, and then he said, if afforded the ability to lead, I believe that I could lead with distinction. So it wasn't that he was saying, I'm ready to take over the lead of this party.
I understand.
Like I believe was perpetrated in the papers. Because when you listen to the spirit of how he said it, it was nothing to do with, I'm ready to take over. It was, we already have a leader. We support him. In my view, he's doing great things. Let's move on. And only after being continuously pressured did he answer that at the final tail end of what was going on. I heard the clips this morning with Mr. Davis said and what Mr. Wilshcombe said. And so I don't think that Mr. Wilshcombe is backtracking or saying anything different than what he initially said.
He just making it clear.
What he initially said is now made public.
I got you.
We have a leader, and the question is not whether I'm willing to lead. It depends on whether, Mr. Christie stays or goes. But I do agree with you, so we have way more important issues that I wish that we could be discussing than just the personality issue of what's going on. We do have a country to run, sir. What's important to me is illegal migration. What's important to me is the food security. with Bamsi and all that. What we need to do is to get a serious grip on crime. The police is doing a good job. I just heard from Mr. Keith Bell that the police, over the last 2 or 3 years, they took over 1,500 guns off the street. So the police doing a good job. What we need to do is fix that judicial system so that when people are brought before the courts, we get some results. And I believe that we need to deal with the mortgage housing program. We need to finish what we started with that, and we need to deal with BEC. All these issues are stuff that the Bahamian people need dealt with. All of these are stuff that the PLP already started to deal with. But my problem with my prime minister is that now that he has counseled everybody and got their opinion, he needs to pull the trigger and finish what we have started. I don't think that this country needs to go in a different direction, Mr. McKinney. I think that we need an accelerated we need them to just continue on doing what they do and put more money into it. Let's complete what we started with immigration. Let's complete what we started with Bamsi and all these other things, and then we'll see the good feeling about this government that I have 10, I'm not going to do it today, but I have 10 or 11 brand new things that the PLP did that was never done before, sir, that the PLP did, and those are the reasons that I would put them back. But I save that for another day. I appreciate you allowing me to express my views, sir.
Anytime. I appreciate your call. Thank you kindly. A lot of things said there, mouthful there. And yeah, I could agree with some things. And it is true. And we say it every day. There are more important things for us to be discussing. I like his clarification on the Obi Wilchcombe part, but because I know Wilchcombe. And I know that he would have been speaking succinctly to specific questions asked of him. And I know that he may not, because I told you at the beginning of the show, he and Christie are too close for me to believe that he went there deliberately to make it look as if he was trying to, do a bust one move on Christie. But I also know Christie, and I know Christie would have taken offense to what was said anyway in the papers, because, what is this all about? It would have been what he would have perhaps asked Wilchcombe. I don't know this, but knowing the players, I figure he would have, if not asked him, at least goosey him and say, I see you want me lead, eh? But, on a very serious note, I think that Wilchcombe has what it takes. I really do. I think that Brave Davis, too, has what it takes. The difficulty is that there's a perception about many things that people aren't clear of, why there is this perception with regards to Mr. Davis being seriously considered to be the one to lead the country. And somebody called earlier talking about outside concerns and that kind of thing. Well, I say if this is a sovereign country and the people want Brave Davis, who's to stop it? But I do understand what he's saying. We don't live in, I suppose, in isolation. We are part of an international community. There are many things as to why many people don't want some people to be in the front line of politics, but at least to be the leader of a country. But then again, that's just the way it is. But if Mr. Davis is interested in running, should Christie step aside, who's to stop him? He's the go-to man, as you heard Leslie say on the show. Hard Copy, how are you?
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Peace and love, all is well.
So, I have just a few points I want to drop in your spirit. The first thing is, I've been hearing about the immigration talk.
Yep.
For both governments, we need to yuck out the immigration talk when we have something we need to cover. It only comes up when either the governments are exposed to a point, then they bring up this immigration issue. They're not really serious.
Well, we've been keeping pressure on them. You know that Hard Copy is the only show that talks about immigration consistently every week.
Correct.
The others have not touched it because they don't see it as any threatening thing. And maybe many of them are dissent. Do you understand what is happening in this country? That's why even when Lang spoke, and you look at that, you really explore that, you may come away with a different feeling and a different viewpoint as to why Lang is talking the way he's talking. But go ahead.
What I find to be so strange is that I'm hearing essence of Bahamians also being locked up. Let me just express something here that people fail to understand. There are 5 public entities responsible for protecting our borders and the part of this country. There's the Parliament, first of all, Defense Force, Immigration, Police, and Customs. And I've never heard that they went to the bank and didn't collect a check. No one should ever discuss the fact of coming to Bahamians, because we are humane people. If there are people walking the streets, we will feed them. We've always been that way. They need to get up and do their jobs, or walk up to Fox Hill, open the cell, and walk in and lock the door. Because they are responsible for whatever you see in this country. We pay them to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Bahamians are allowing politicians to be puppet masters, if and when the Bahamians wake up, they will become the puppet masters.
Yeah.
Wake up, Bahamians. Take control of your own country.
I appreciate it.
Politicians do it for you.
You are so right. You're so right. We've been saying it. I appreciate the call. No, the real discussion today that I really wanted to have was this of Fred Mitchell's response to lying. I think it's fantastic. And of course, I've been blamed for wanting to talk about immigration every day if I could. The truth is, it is the biggest thing that plagues us, and we got to do something about it. But there are others who are very clever, flipping the script by bringing up this idea of a showdown, by amplifying this whole thing about an election. That's the exuberance of some youngsters in media who want to have an election. They want it now, and I could understand that. But all things come in good time. And then when Mr. Roberts made the announcement about the convention for October, that just fueled it. They say, oh boy, that means that they're getting ready now. And yes, they are, but still in time. But, I figured today that we can open our lines and have you express yourselves on the matter, because there is a question that I put on the table, That question is a very simple one. If Christie, since he seems to be the focus of everybody's anger and attention, if he, and that's by perception that all these people now want to run for leadership, if Christie steps aside and there's a brand new leadership at the very top post in the PLP, the governing party, are they more likely to repeat for another term in office, notwithstanding their record and the slowness of getting some things done? Would that whole thing of a new leadership spark a new, I suppose I could call it energy, that people would say, well, look here, I can stick with the team because you see, they're changing things. And, because it's a real question. And that may be the reason why it's put out there. That may be the reason why these stories are coming out. This to show that, boy, if they can change the leadership, maybe they're trying to tell Christie something, that the people want you gone, Chief. And if you're gone, this party will survive. This is politics. These things happen. And a lot of this may be friendly fire that you see. Friendly fire means the fires within, the troubles that are brewing within, the lobbying that's beginning to happen within. That's what's happening here. People are lining up behind certain fellas. I'm so surprised that I don't see Jerome Fitzgerald's name in the running for leadership. He ran with Obie Wolfscombe for deputy leader against Brave Davis, and Brave beat both of them. I'm surprised that Jerome Fitzgerald, the Minister of Education, the man who, in fact, acted as Attorney General, the man who has gotten the Rubis matter all under control and had people cheering for him, even though the story came out of the Guardian yesterday that they're feeling sick and they don't understand why the screening is stopped. Well, if you could bust people into that area to win a round of politics and think nothing of it, you are a great politician, my friend. Your name should be called as one of those persons who too may want to run for leadership. But I don't hear his name, at least not yet. At least not yet. Hard Copy, how are you? Good afternoon, Hard Copy, how are you? Hard Copy, how are you?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
I think you misunderstood me, okay? I was talking about the by-election in Abacosa.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay, yes, okay, I hear you. This is the fellow who called earlier.
Yes, sir, and you misunderstood or you misquote what I was talking about.
No, I said
by-election.
No, I understand you. I didn't hear you say by-election. I'm saying that I know of when Christie made a statement, but I didn't recall this. So
they could pray to God. This was a statement. They could pray to God, right? And they wouldn't get nothing. They still got to come to him. Now he's fighting with God, and God can straighten him out.
I got you.
They got to get rid of him if they want anything. That asked Bahama, gone to Bahama, dead. All right? God is in charge, not Christie.
I got you.
Very much so.
I appreciate it. Thanks for calling back. Hard Copy, how are you?
Steve, I think I heard that same thing too. But if so, that's a Pharaoh moment, and he must pray to God for forgiveness.
Yeah, that's a Nebuchadnezzar moment too.
Yes, and if he did, somebody or Buddy Roberts to say he didn't say it, because you don't play with God Almighty. I
really don't remember it, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll have to check my records from the election in Abaco.
Go to the pastor or the church. You should have to come to me. Something like that.
Yeah.
But if he did say that, he must have having a Pharaoh moment.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, my friend. Do you think, because somebody had said on one of my shows, I think it was Paul Moss, who said that because Christie had gone against the people's wish with this election for this gaming thing, that the minute that he turned his back and didn't do what the people voted for, that he became a man under a curse, and by extension, his government won't be able to get anything done in a way that's going to be pleasing or that would excite the people. You subscribe to that kind of thinking?
No. I mean, it's a chain of reaction. I mean, he cannot fire people. I mean, he's just a nice man. But Steve, he's just a nice man. He's just nice. To be a leader, you have to, like, leader to be the rule of your house, right? You gotta pop him, you gotta slap him. It's like a chewing now and then. Or it will hurt you, right? You want to cuff him, you gotta, as they come home 12, they come home 2. So you gotta show them who run the house, right?
Yep.
I was hurting you, but Steve, I come with this. Steve, what's in the water in Fort Charlotte?
What's in the water?
Yeah.
Wisdom.
Huh?
Wisdom. I drink it every morning.
There gotta be something in the water that Mr. Alfred Sears in the number of my pocket. I mean, he done served.
Careful now.
He did a nice pension.
Careful now.
Yeah, and I will be careful. But you only raised nobody new to come run for Fort Charlotte?
Well, when you say y'all, you have to understand.
Hold on. He's the chairman of the branch.
Hold on now.
So audacity to say she could bring back somebody.
Well, listen. My friend, I appreciate your question. Let me just answer you this way. This is one of the things that will plague the governing party. We are a country of many young people, somewhere around close to perhaps 81%. Young people. It's a young country. You cannot remove a young man as the fellow who is in the constituency, and the branch wanted to do this a long time. You cannot have the perception that you're moving this fellow or forcing him out or mistreating him. And then you go back and you bring somebody who is much older than he is, and perhaps much wiser and perhaps more settled and more mature. But the way that people look at that, and they're talking about it right now. See, I live in Fort Charlotte. I've been here all my life. Never moved. Every business I had has been in Fort Charlotte. Ms. Wee's son, I still here. My slogan when I was going to run for the CDR was live there, work there, still there, ain't going nowhere. That was my slogan. But that didn't come to fruition running with the CDR. But I'm just saying, that's how long I've been here, all my life. So I know the area very well. And I talk with the people who are the real people of Fort Charlotte who've been here all that time. That's one. When I tell you that wisdom is in the water that we drink, it's because no one in Fort Charlotte really depends upon no politics. Never did. Axe Lang. Well, let me go back to the beginning. Axe Macmillan. Curtis Macmillan. I think he's dead now. You can't ask him. Axe Elwood Donaldson. Axe Valentine Grimes. Axe Earl Thompson Sr. Axe Lang. Axe Sir Michael Barnett, he ran. Axe all of them. We just do our duty constitutionally. But I started to say, the perception now is unfolding that you have taken out a young fella to bring back a fellow who was there before, and Mr. Sayers, and we love Sayers. Sayers is a great guy. But there's something wrong with the picture. The surrogates who are advocating this are the ones who are hurting Sayers. I've said it publicly. The surrogates, especially Val Grimes, the chairman of Bahamas Air, who was once a member of parliament in Fort Charlotte, who left a record in Fort Charlotte that most people weren't impressed with. He talking for Sayers. Oh, so it seems. That can't help Sayers. Now, you're getting it directly from the fellow who in Fort Charlotte. That can't help Sayers. That's why last week I said, sarcastically, well, then if you're going to have a by-election, let's go. Have one, and have one in Elizabeth Estate too. Not Elizabeth Estate, Lizzie. Where Ryan Pinder is just chilling out, just relaxing, and nobody has to focus on him. But they tear up Rollins, and they tear up Greg, and they tear up Redwood, but not a soul got a thing to say with Mr. Ryan Pinder. So the perception is you're taking out young people to bring in old people. Let me just be frank with you. That's what the perception is. Not that I subscribe to it or support the whole concept of how they're thinking, but that is what the feedback is. Already. And no one little branch in Fort Charlotte controls Fort Charlotte. Please get that. That's a PLP branch. And their supporters will be there. But there's an F&M branch, there's a DNA branch, there's an independent branch in an area with people who are smart and talented, and they know what they want. That's just the way it is. And so I've told you, you can pick it to pieces for what it's worth. But with a group of people registering somewhere around 81% of young in this country, 31% of these people ain't working. They want some action that's going to help them. You follow? That's why I don't believe that people are really interested in this political talk. But this has been thrusted upon us by the national papers that say, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is a state that we've got to now deal with. This is the emergency. Some people are wanting to now take over from Christie. This really is just a ball of wind. Because already the minute that Wilshcombe says that only if Christie is going, and Brave says that only if Christie is going would they be interested, never mind that there's a convention coming up around October. This ain't really of no emergency to call Mama about. What we really want to call Mama about is to call Mama and tell Mama that we ain't eat from last week. That we ain't got no job, Mama. That's what we really want to call home about. Mama, we ain't eat from last week. We got pain in our belly. Mama, we ain't had no job from 2000. And we losing our house. We ain't even got no house to sleep in, Mama. That's what we want to call about. Mama, and even though we ain't got no money and we ain't got no food and we hungry and we ain't got no job, the people still coming to rob us. And if we don't watch it, they'll kill us. It's crime, Mama. And then on top of that, we get these people who just move in our neighborhood. You can see they just come from down there and they want to rob with us. And they hanging fish on our fence. Fish to dry in our good neighborhood. Mama, that's what we calling you about. That's what we want to call home about. But some people say we shouldn't do that because we might change the leadership soon in the government. And if we change the leadership in the PLP, we might get a chance. So they want us to talk about politics, you see, Mama. That's the truth. Say, Mama, the other day when I tell a certain MP, I see him sitting down in the restaurant, he had all this food on the table, you know, Mama, and I dead hungry and I wait for so long and I ain't even got no house to live in, I ain't got no car to buy and then take that. And I see him sitting down in that big restaurant with the big glass on it on Bay Street, and I can look straight through and see him eating all that turkey and lobster and things like that. I go on inside and I say, please, Mr. MP, use my representative. Give him a piece of that chicken. You know what he tell me, Mama? He say, stop talking politics. Lord, I telling you, what a country. Hard copy before the break.
Hi, Steve.
Peace. What's happening?
Boy, if you don't laugh, you will cry, man. Yeah, Steve, I just want to say that the Christian People Movement will be contesting the next general elections as well.
And Fort Charlotte?
You know, and Steve, we do have the answers to reduce crime, to reduce the deficit, to empower our people, to educate our people, to spread the wealth we have here to the common man, and then to win souls to the kingdom.
I hear you.
Steve, a nation is as big as its vision. The CPM would give the voters of this country, Steve, a clear and simple choice.
I hear you.
You could choose to go on in the same old way, doing the same old thing, with the same old people, under the same old system, and listening to the same old tired arguments and excuses year after year. Or on the other hand, Steve, you can make a brand new beginning. You can face the future with renewed confidence and hope. For we have nothing, Steve, to fear but fear itself. We have nothing to lose, Steve, but our change.
Okay, well,
our future is as bright as the
you.
promises of God.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, no campaigning on hard copy. When you want to bring your platform about the Christian People Movement, we will be more than happy to accommodate it. Right now, what we have is an emergency. The emergency is that we got to kill crime. We've got to turn these numbers back. What the numbers are now, 72 murders. Murders have gone up by 16% over last year. We have we had 62 or something, 63, somewhere around there last year. By this time, we're already up to 72. That's a serious thing. Do you realize what this means? In Bosnia, Herzegovina, they don't have killings like that. This is the Bahamas. This is a tourist destination. This is a bunch of friendly people who love God. And we killing. You know what it is? This is June, halfway through, not even yet. Yeah, halfway, 6 months. And we got 72. I've been telling you about this crime and all that. You ain't interested in it. You want to talk politics. So I give you an opportunity today to call me and talk politics. And I get the impression right off the top, you don't really want to talk politics. That's some other people who trying to get you to talk politics. What you really want to talk is remedies. How are we going to lick this crime? How are we going to certainly eliminate this serious immigration threat? We are under siege. We are being annexed from Haiti. We are. Let me just prove what I'm saying to you. Fred Mitchell makes a statement today, which I want to really go over properly and present to you, but just to give you some idea. He is hit lines, the former Minister of State, his statements on immigration and all this, because a couple of things happened. When you heard the immigration fellas went down to the straw market and on Bay Street, they went on Bay Street to clean up. They didn't go down Bay Street looking for Haitians. Let me tell you, they went down Bay Street looking for Indians. Do you know how many Indians we have here? I've been telling you this on this show for months. I tell you, the Conky Joe Bahamas, our white friends, our brothers and sisters, I see them all the time. They're my friends. They have complained to me that they're losing all the stores. All these jewelry stores are comprised of Indians. I told you this right on the show. Immigration people know that. When they come, one or two may have license to be here, but guess what? They bring in a dray load of the family. They don't travel unless they bring the family. So the Indians have really taken over Bay Street. Scans, my favorite restaurant on Sunday mornings. Me and the wife go there, sit down, have a little nice little sweet little Franks and my little eggs over easy, my little toast and my little cup of tea. And I see all the China them there. That's the name of the girl who's serving, and they do a fantastic job. And they're my Greek friends who owned it. They close right down, Brigham, Bram. And guess who got the building? The Indians. And guess what they do? Another jewelry store in Scans. And what happened? They laid off their staff, 14, 20 people. They're Bahamians. They're over the hill right now. Don't know how they can pay their rent. Some called me. Because they say, boy, Steve, we close. But where you and your wife can eat on Sunday morning after church. I say, darling, you all got any more of them little sausages there what I like? She said, boy, Steve, I can see if I can find one place where they sell them, because they have this unique little sausage I love. But on a very serious note, I felt that for them. I cried with them on the telephone. Yes, I did, because they're lovely people. But the man, let me tell you how serious this is. Can I pause and tell you this for a second? Yeah, let me tell you. The man who owns Scans, they're a bunch of brothers, the father of the fellows who own the restaurant out west, the one that I love to go to as well. Olives, same family, thereabouts. Well, this same man had gotten a license to be in Bahama. See how this thing has a domino effect? He already got his thing. He then paid for the staff from Scans supposed to move down to Bahama to this new business that they got, but Bahama can't open. So the fellas them try to hold off the Indians who bought his building and say, look here, Indians, you all stay here till we could get into Bahama. Give us some more time. And the Indians already paid their money now. So he said, give us some more time, and then we will get our staff out of here and we'll move. Well, after going to the Indians 3-4 times and Bahama can't open, the man had to give the people the keys. So the Indians got Scans, but there ain't gonna be no restaurant. They then waking, got in that place, getting that ready for a jewelry store. Because you see the cruise ships coming right in. We are letting other people come from other countries take our bread and butter from the cruise ships who come looking for jewelry and beer and little things like that, and we're losing out. And yes, some of them got permit to be here, but a lot of them still coming in any kind of how, because they can, they can mingle into the crowd and they can look like tourists. So because Bahama ain't open, the ladies who work for Scans and all them Bahamians, they home without a job, no pay, because the fella been losing money who owns Scans. He been losing money, keeping them employed, going to his egg nest, I suppose, to keep them employed till he could get into the doors and really do business at Bahama. You see how much things riding on that? So that's just his reason. But many, many, many businesses on Bay Street are now full of Indians who have come to do business, and they serious people. So we're going to have a meltdown eventually. Since Christie is talking with the Chinese coming to develop Bay Street, you'll have Chinese, Mexicans, Indians, and Haitians running Bay Street, because that's the score right now. The Haitians, most of the Haitian businesses are through Market Street, just off Bay Street. But they come onto Bay Street to get the tourists that come through Market Street. And it's been a hell of a thing, because the police are always down there partying, fighting, all kind of stuff. You have no idea. This is why I talk about it. But no one is interested in that. They want to talk politics. So I opened my lines for you, and the lines are blank right now. Because really, the truth is, we really don't want to talk politics. But I figure since you want to talk politics based upon what I'm reading and what you're saying to me, I give you a chance to talk politics. Get it off your chest, then let's get back to basics. That's what this show is for today, because I don't like wasting time. I really would like to get to the nitty-gritty of the matters of business and see if we can flip the script on this immigration. Don't take it personal. It's for our own good. It is not aimed at any particular nationality. I tell you what I tell you in the raw just now so you could get it, because it seems like we slow on certain things. So I said all that to say that when you see these guys go down to Bay Street, the immigration officers, they're down there because it's needed. They ain't going on there to go mess with people. It's needed. It is needed. We got to bring order. So when Mitchell was setting Lang's record straight today, since he thinks that the government trying to show off and playing like they're doing some things, Lang is out of touch on that particular score. And when he tries to defend those of Haitian heritage who have come into the country illegally and are taking up residence and doing what they feel, he's off page again. You know how much people want these shanty towns gone? The shanty towns are building up. So let's be realistic. So far, up to June 1st, and I got better statistics than what has been released by Mitchell, by the way, because I keep an eye on it every day. I call them, how much y'all get today? They tell me. So, but this is the numbers that Mitchell is releasing for the press for tomorrow. Up to the 23rd. Oh, pardon me. This is correct. I see it here from June 1st to the 23rd. He's on the same page. We're on the same page. 422 repatriated persons. 369 Haitian nationals, 13 Jamaicans, 8 Brazilians, 14 Cubans, Georgians, 8. Would have been better to say Americans. Venezuelans, 2. Ecuadorians, 2. That's what we sent out up to yesterday. A number of other things have happened, according to Mr. Mitchell. The Department of Immigration, Operations New Providence and the Family Islands, the goals of which is to ensure that every immigrant have a legal right to live and work in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, says Mr. Mitchell. As a result of intensive efforts and operations was conducted on Bay Street and the straw market. You hear what he said? Bay Street. That's not incorrect. That's correct. And the straw market for status check. The results, 21 persons arrested, various nationality. 9 persons were committed to detention center. Other 12 persons were released for paying delinquent work permit fees. What a free-for-all. And Mr. Mitchell says that they sincerely thank Bahamian citizens in providing us, the Bahamian people, the Bahamian authorities, with very good intelligence of persons working in a number of key businesses establishments and various areas. The information given has led to a number of arrests of persons who were subsequently repatriated. The public and the vendors are reminded that the straw market vendor's license is for Bahamians only, and that you must have a valid Bahamian passport. Valid is the key word. There are many fraudulent Bahamian passports. You must have a valid Bahamian passport to be a stall owner in the straw market that's made for Bahamians. You can be an employee of a stall owner. You can be an employee of a stall owner, but to do so, you must have a valid work permit to work for the stall owner, or have permanent residence with the right to work, or a spousal permit, or a belongers permit. You can only be an employee. This is Mitchell talking. He says, we will continue to check the market from time to time. So some things are happening, and there's a lot more to tell you about that. And it would be good if Mr. Mitchell would make an appearance now, because he's on a roll. And conditions may be good for him to come right now to talk about what they're doing. So we'll be the first to give him an invitation publicly, and I'll give him a call tonight and say, come to the show, let us talk, because the truth is, I think people support what is happening. Is that a good deal? I think we'll pursue that. It is 6:30. Let's run to the break, pay some bills. But I thought you wanted to talk politics. What has happened? You've lost your interest in politics. We got so many serious fish to fry. Boy, doesn't matter who wants to run. And are you going to answer my question of the day? If you change Christie and bring anybody else, would it change the direction of how people feel about the Progressive Liberal Party's governance at this point? And would you be apt to give them another chance and ask them to remain on as government in 2017 when the time comes? Well, why are you sucking your teeth at me? I put in the question. I got to be fair. I put the question. You can answer. 325-0235 or 6, 325-0242 or 43, 325-0252 or 53. We're back in just a minute on Hard Copy.
Atlantis is committed to the Bahamian community. Over the last 2 decades, over $28 million has been given to local charities, parks, green space development, beach restoration, Junkanoo, sporting organizations, and youth development, just to name a few. And its nearly 8,000 team members, happy to give back in a tangible way, have adopted this same culture. In culmination of its 20th anniversary, this Saturday, June 27th, hundreds of Atlanteans will take to the streets to demonstrate their commitment during the Atlantis Employee Give Back Day. Tune in as we team up with Steve McKinney and our partners at Peace FM. We kick off at 8 a.m. this Saturday, live on Peace 107.5 FM. It's the Atlantis Employee Give Back Day. Atlantis, then, now, and always.
I'm not ashamed to let the whole world know.
Win a free phone card when you pay your BTC bill in full at any of our locations. BTC Pay and Win, offer valid through June 30th only.
What's hotter than summertime in the Bahamas? A Junkanoo and Goombay summer in the Bahamas. Get ready for one sizzling summer with 2 exciting street festivals. First up is Junkanoo Summer Festival every Saturday in July. Come see your favorite Junkanoo groups face off at Arawak Heat. And while you're there, enjoy mouth-watering Bahamian cuisine and entertainment. The heat continues into August with the return of the Goombay Summer Festival. Yes, you heard right. Goombay is back. Join us every Friday in August at Arawak Key for live Bahamian music, delicious local cuisine, authentically Bahamian arts and crafts, and lots of games and entertainment. Junkanoo Summer Festival and Goombay Summer Festival, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism. See you every Saturday in July and every Friday in August. Visit bahamas.com/summerfestivals for more details.
Attention all shoppers. Win over $30,000 in trips this summer when you shop at Solomon's Cartwright and Fresh Market. Win round-trip tickets to New York, Atlanta, Panama, Cuba, Santo Domingo, and anywhere in the Bahamas when you buy any four of these brands in a single purchase. Hellman's, Pedigree, Joy, Coca-Cola, Libby, Sun Supreme, Mahatma, Bluebird, Shaman, Clorox, Vitamilk, Swab, Flash, and Robin Hood. Buy any four in a single purchase and win $30,000 only at Solomon's Cartwright and Fresh Market, Nassau and Freeport.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BOB has the solution for you. Introducing BOB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BOB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BOB Mobile Express. Visit any BOB branch or call us at 397-3000. BOB, your bank of solutions.
Well, what in the world you got in these suitcases you told in the superwash? Rachel, come home with this cat. It's a pretty cat now. But he ain't getting toilet things down park yet. So he got on the rug? On the rug? I wish it was only the rug. Homeboy baptized our couch with some of that territory marking spray what they just use. Well, why don't you get one janitorial service to come in and clean rather than carrying all these cushions to the wash house? I do that. Now it smell like pine-scented parking lot after Junkanoo. So these go to the superwash. That cat pee ain't no match with them big boys now, I can tell you that. You got that right. And when I get them dry, they're going straight to the composter for plastic covering. I don't blame you, girl. But what you gonna do with the cat? He going obedient training where he gonna learn how to use the toilet. You mean the letterbox? No. I mean the toilet. He gonna learn how to doggone use that toilet, or he could be in timeout all day. Hey, Superwash. They washes your presses, it cleans you, and entertains you 24/7.
The choices we make can make us, like who we turn to for investment and retirement advice. Choosing CFAL means having a trusted advisor on your side, helping you build wealth and meet your financial goals. We manage pension assets for businesses and offer individual plans to help you design a secure retirement. We can provide brokerage services and comprehensive research support for clients needing a little more investment guidance. CFAL can help you build a portfolio you can be proud of. Visit us at cfal.com. CFAL sees your future.
At Henry F. Store Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Store Electric, number 135 Matthew Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
Welcome back to Hard Copy. I gave you the opportunity to talk about the politics that you wanted to, because to me, I know when the season begins. The season has already begun, yes, but it's not at the peak that some people are trying to put it at. It's obvious. But you can call me nonetheless, 325-0235 or 325-0242-4043 and 325-0252-53. And that's one of the reasons why, friends, that we got what you call this make-believe situation. We have to stick with what the facts are and what the focus should be on as journalists in this country. And the focus should be on immigration, on crime, on this bad economy, on people who aren't working, on people who need to have this mortgage relief program really hurry up. Christie them said they're going to try to get it done, but we've got to hurry this up. People are losing out. Something has got to give as far as new rules or laws or something from the government authorities through the central bank to put a moratorium on people losing homes. I was reading the newspapers where Frankie Wilson was talking about that already these things are happening. He says that anybody who says that nothing is being done for those persons who are in trouble with their mortgage, they don't know what's going on. So I read his story, and the story was basically saying that they have intervened to the banks to take it easy on people and try to lower payments for some people to hold on to their homes, and that many persons who had already been out because of delinquency in payments, they're still in their homes, and says that one of the things that they're doing is they're allowing the people to stay in their homes even though they're delinquent in their mortgage payments, which may be good in a way and also bad in a way, because at the end of the day, if this so-called moratorium that's not been announced internally in these banks falls away, then the people come for their house, just like that. But apparently a lot of people are living in homes that have already been up for grabs as far as mortgages are concerned, because they've been so delinquent, 3-4 months they've been delinquent, and they would have been normally thrown out or asked to leave. Apparently they're staying in the house. That isn't any big thing, you know, because really houses and homes would be vandalized if people are not in them. So it is cheaper for the bank to let the people stay there to kind of like be security in their house what they was paying for, so that people don't come in and vandalize it. Normally in the past, when you saw houses that were just vacant because they owed the bank, people went inside their vandals and they vandalized the house. And by the time as the house got a sale for the bank, got a sale for the house basically didn't worth it. It was dilapidated. So, you know, so that may be one way of looking at it. That depends. I suppose it depends upon how one sees it, the glass half full or the glass half empty. But the truth is, the people are mopies in the middle. The people themselves who own the homes. That's how that appears. But that's another story, and we have to tackle that. That's one of the main things that will be plaguing our nation. 325-0235-6 is how you can call me. Let's get involved in the conversation, because here it is that we do have a situation now where there are serious things that we must discuss. And this is the test. If you are not up to discussing it, just sit back and listen, because this is no time to be talking fool. Hi, Copy, how are you?
Hey, my brother, how you doing?
Peace and love. Is this John Bostwick?
Yes, sir. Yes,
how are you, sir?
I was sitting next to you, you know.
Well, you know, today's Wednesday, and I miss you. Your chair's right here empty. They even have a bottle of water. Show it to them on the screen. You think I'm kidding?
Sorry. I almost felt like you were cueing me in when you said, you know, if you're not ready to talk, sit back and listen. And I was sitting here listening to you and waiting to have my turn to speak.
Well, listen, it's your turn to speak now. I'm listening to you, my friend. How you doing?
I'm good, man. You doing all right?
I'm in good shape.
I hear you keeping up the good fight, and it's always encouraging to see you encourage many of us, and your shoulders aren't broad for anything.
Well, I appreciate that, but my friend, you know, it's taking its toll like most things. You know, I got to go home tonight and drink some more honey and lemon and try to keep my throat going so I can talk again. That's how serious it is. A lot of work to be done. As they say in the Bible, you know, the harvest is truly plenteous, but the laborers are few.
Well, you know, there's so many different points I want to mention, so I'm trying to remember them. But as you go there, the scripture that keeps me encouraged is that this is definitely, everybody talks about the Joshua generation, and we are the Joshua generation, and this Bahamas is the promised land, very much the new Israel. That new place. We always like to say, it's one of our little tourism slogans or personal to ourselves, that the Bahamas is the place where God comes to vacation. I like to say it's where he lives.
Absolutely.
And it is a wonderful and blessed place. And just like when Joshua and the Israelites stood on the banks and they looked over and they said, you know, yeah, okay, here we are. We are at the promised land. And they sent scouts over, and scouts came back and said, wow, it's a fruitful place. You know, there are grapes the size of grapefruit. But yet there are giants there. Okay, fair enough. There are giants there, and we do have to stand up. We do need to shake off some giants. We do need to depossess them of our land. But it is the promised land. It is a bountiful place. You know, I listen to you, and more some of the things that might have seemed fantastic to people when we were discussing them, Steve, a full year ago. Hard to believe it's been a year.
Yeah.
But it's been a full year. A quick but yet slow and painful year. Very strange a phenomenon. I think everybody understands that when I say that.
Yes, we do.
But when we were discussing these things about the wonderful opportunities that are available in the Bahamas, the wonderful resources that are here to be developed, but are presently being raped and exploited to no benefit of the Bahamian people, but it should be under proper leadership and proper management with a proper mandate, lead us beyond a situation where we're fretting and worrying and the state of potential calamity that is in the air has the whole nation in a state of depression. It shouldn't be that. We should be amongst the people of the world who are celebrating the great fortune that we have, and the fact that we have been that good and faithful servant, and we are multiplying our talents and developing the resources that we have here, so that we're not talking about debt, but we're talking about budgetary surplus, full employment. So these are the kind of discussions that we could have in the Bahamas, that we really should be having in the Bahamas. I don't really care what's going on in the world. It is interesting to see what is going on in the world, and so it's what not to do.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as to see and really understand the extent of our blessings, you know. But that we are facing the sadness that you mentioned. You're so right when you say that the banks are allowing people to stay in their houses that have long been foreclosed.
Yeah.
And it's not months, Steve. Some of these houses have been foreclosed for years.
Yes.
And the banks are allowing the people to stay in, as you say, because it's cheaper to have the people stay in and go on and at least maintain the house.
Yes.
Rather than to have the house, the asset that is securing this loan, fall into a state of disrepair.
Yeah.
The other thing that's going on is that there's nobody to buy them.
That's another thing. Yeah.
Okay, so and that's how sad the situation is. It is a desperate thing, and it is also very concerning to hear it become one of these things of political banter, where promises, accusation, promise, you didn't, I did, you didn't, I did, I will, I won't. Yet in the middle of it all, we have a middle class that is beyond in danger, that is eroding faster than our coastline.
Absolutely.
It's the erosion of the middle class, and just as desperate and just as should not happen. And, you know, but for proper management, neither the coastline or the middle class should be eroding at the rate it is.
Yeah. What a country, John. You know, one of the things is that people are waiting on the new Joshua generation to rise up and to take their place, because it's obvious that what Brother Miles had told us, as a nation, it is obvious that we're beginning to see those changes. We're beginning to see a lot of people come to the forefront, young men with bright futures who have a good understanding as to where this country should go. But we see an old guard who, according to Mr. Dr. Miles Monroe, whose time has passed, we see them still trying to suppress what is to be. In your opinion, is that something that could be suppressed for another 10 years, for another 5 years, for another term in office? Because obviously from a political end, there are people biting at the bits trying to get to another level to change some things in this country for the betterment of the future growth of the country.
You know, Steve, I don't see that being able to be suppressed for another 18 months.
Wow.
And there are, you know, when you say the old guard, it's almost as if they're thinking that this is what is coming is something due to a few days of rain, you know. So you could put out the bucket and you could put a couple of bags by the door,
right,
and everything's going to be all right. No, this is the rising of a tide. This is a spring tide beyond all measure. Spring tide in the presence of a full moon, and there's nothing you can do to stop the tide from rising. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, Dr. Monroe said it, you know, he says we'll be in awe and there's nothing that we can do about it.
There's nothing. And, you know, the beautiful thing about it is, unlike other places where there's this massive struggle between the generations, between, I would say, a generation of destruction as opposed to a generation bent on love on harmony and unity, togetherness, environmental concerns. Peace, not destruction. Stop this crime, stop this killing. Let's get together. Let's fix this country. Not tribalism and tear this one down and smear this one down and break this one person. And no, we're not about that. And that is going on all over the world, Steve. That's like you say, in the air, in the water, wherever it is.
Yeah.
You see that in every country on the planet. Yeah. And you see an era that has come up. I call it the post-colonial era. And you saw the British get rid of their empire all through the 60s and the 70s. And now you have this first generation of people who have grown up in there with a sense of, an internal sense of sovereignty. And you know, they're not buying into anything other than we own this place. And we now feel empowered
to possess it fully.
To fully possess it. And not just empowered, educated, you know, and we are actually the ones who are doing the jobs. And it is not any level of disrespect to those who are before us. And in fact, it was a great level of humility and respect to them for having prepared us to so do.
Yes.
And so now that we are ready to do, and we also have the amazing benefit of those who have the hindsight of error still being around. Okay, so you know what we should not do, and you can say no, we tried that didn't work. No, go and you're still here.
Yeah.
So we don't have to waste time guessing. We can go straight ahead and fix the problems that are in front of us, and we're not scared. And see, it seems that everybody is caught up in this paralysis of oh my God, there are problems. We're born in these problems, okay? And many of us. And so we are more than aware of these problems, and we are hell-bent, in fact, have lived lives toward being able to solve them. Please let us solve them.
Yeah. It's a new day, you know. It's a new time. There's no question about it. I don't know if you want to, but you saw all of the hullabaloo that was being done in the papers in quarters of the media, trying to stir up the interest of people in this area of politics, that people want to talk about leadership and changing of the guard into the governing party, that kind of a thing. Did you make much of an observance of that, or did you take that to mean anything major was happening, a stirring and a moving and a shaking?
Steve, I listen to you say that, and I think one of the reasons why people are not buzzing your phone is that people are just tired of the talk. You know, we've been talking for so long. You know, like I had a radio show for 5 years talking between 2007 and 2012, and we've been talking longer than that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, like you said, man, John, you know, it's taking a toll. I got to go get some honey and lemon, and I've been talking long. You tired talking?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and I can hear it in you. You tired talking, and you ready for action. You want some change, and you want it to happen now. And the truth about the matter is, your sense of urgency is, you know, it needs to happen now. We've run out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think that's why people aren't calling. I listened to you ask that question today. Why aren't you calling? Because, man, we want solutions, but we're tired of talking. We're tired of sticking in the breeze. Okay? Nobody wants to stick in the breeze. You only got to do that 3 or 4 times to realize that's not something you want to do.
My Lord.
So, but that being said, when you look at what is going on in the political landscape, Steve, for me, it would appear to me that the politics season, crazy season, never ended. 2012. It would seem that all the major parties are attacking themselves internally. It never stopped. You know, we've had 2 leadership contentions in the FNM, and maybe have another one. Okay,
and may have another one. Interesting.
So all of this is going on, and so that politics is in the air. That display that happened in the House of Assembly, I was saddened by that. To know I was amongst the many who was watching to see the budget debate. I was watching to hear what was going to be said by, in particular, those last 3 people.
Yeah.
You know, so what if
Lawrence Christie Davis
wanted to resign? So what?
Yeah.
You know, he couldn't have said anything worse than he hasn't said in the last
Very true.
6 months.
Very true.
So what more could he have said? You know, and in fact, he didn't say anything more. He just repeated it. He regurgitated it and said goodbye. Okay?
Yeah.
So what's the big deal of not allowing him to speak? And in the face of not having the Minister of National Security at a time when crime is the greatest concern in this country.
Yeah, they got a free pass. They got off easily. And I mean, the public, you may be right that people are just tired of talking, because the public watched that and the public didn't even make any noise at the point. I think apathy is also said in that. You mean to tell me that we hear nothing from the nation's chief executive in concluding the budget debate, nothing from the man in charge of crime in concluding the debate, and that's it?
See, you know, and the thing about it, what frightens me with that is it wasn't just us who was listening. You know, that budget debate, the budget debate in any country, the world follows the American budget debate. The world follows the German budget debate. And there are certain people who are interested in the Bahamas who follow the Bahamian budget debate. All of these people who have these billions of dollars that they want to invest somewhere in the world, they listen to your budget debate, you know. They want to hear what your plans are, what your intention are, where your fiscal policy is, where you're looking to attract investment, what are your incentives that you're going to roll out for these new investors, what is this, what is that. So the IMF, those people who are in those credit rating agencies, Moody's and S&P, they want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay? They want to hear what the Minister of Finance, ultimately the nation's chief, is going to say. And we didn't hear.
Well, maybe they send them their scripts because somebody made this lame excuse. I can't remember who it was when the question was put. Why didn't we hear from you all? Somebody made this excuse that, well, the press got this. The press got their statements. The press got their debate, their budget presentations that we're about to make, so they can deduce stuff from that, and that'll be fine. But there's nothing like hearing it delivered and spoken on the record. See, that's the other thing. We mustn't miss that. These things that they're talking about has not been spoken on the record, so we can't hold them to it. I'm not interested in seeing B.J. Nonage's speech. It doesn't mean anything really because it's not on the record. If it was on the record of the House of Assembly, I could hold him to and say, now, you said this on the floor of the House. I can only say you had this intended to say, but you didn't say it. So it doesn't make a good argument.
And if you try to hold him to some printed speech, he's going to say, yeah, but I didn't say that because the information wasn't right, or this wasn't right, or I knew I wasn't going to, we changed our minds on this and that. Come on, man, that's not, that's not an excuse, and that's not an excuse to offer intelligent people. That really ain't right.
Yeah, it ain't right.
It's
disingenuous.
And again, and I say that without casting any stone.
Yeah.
But really, it ain't right.
It ain't right. It just ain't right.
It ain't right. And to like I say, to leave people waiting to hear that and to say, well, man, I sent something out to the press.
There's also something else from a political perception end too, that when Rawlings spoke and ended up being the final guy that spoke, what was the beginning? What was the end seems to be the beginning in people's mind that, he who is last shall be first, and he who is first shall be last. If you deduce what I'm saying here, the last voice we hear talking about anything from a perspective of leadership on the floor was the fellow who said, that's it for me, gone. See y'all later. Y'all ain't got it. I don't like your leadership. Y'all ain't ready. I resign. Now, that resonates with a lot of people who are watching the debate. And Rawlings came off as the fellow who really anchored the debate, whether we want to admit that or not. In other words, it's like the government had no comeback. If people's minds and memories don't serve them right, they'll say the government had no comeback after Rawlings spoke, and so Rawlings spoke and the debate was over.
Well, Steve, some people said, in barbershop talk, man, that's a serious knockout blow the speaker put.
That's precisely my point. That's precisely my point.
Man, that wasn't even a knockout, but that was a combo.
Yeah.
And what people didn't realize, there were two blows. And one was allowing Rawlings to speak, and the other was to close the debate.
Yeah.
I think if the government side had it to play again, and if they had thought that there was any chance of Rawlings being allowed to speak, they wouldn't have moved to close the debate. Yeah. They would have had the last three says, and they would have hammered him into the ground by the time they were finished having those last.
I agree with you. Yeah, somebody called the wrong shots there again, but then again, from a PR public perception, the wrong shots have been called a whole lot in the governing party this time around for whatever reason.
Steve, between the last three speakers, there's probably I think there's just short of 100 years of parliamentary experience.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
No joke.
And that's why I summed it up by saying, here comes this little David, and he slew Goliath. The big three going down. There's one little fellow who they say, all he want to do is be an upstart. Well, he certainly was an upstart, and he concluded the debate as the upstart, and that's on the record. If I had to write this 5 years from now, I would say, and then for the first and the only MP who was at odds with his party, somehow he worked himself. He must have been a genius to work himself to a position where he ducked the House of Assembly all week long, ducked the leader of government business in the House, didn't answer the leader's business with the phone calls, and showed up to speak on the day when the big three were supposed to speak, spellbound the whole country, got on national TV, had everybody watching that. Even if the NBA game was on, this come in watching Rawlings, and he made his exit by saying, see y'all later. Check you later, alligator. And they were just there looking around all dull and mystified, and that's not a good picture.
Boy, Steve, I'll leave you with this, even the best of race car drivers, they got to have a good crew
Yeah. That pit crew.
And, a good coach, best basketball player.
Yes,
somebody got to draw up the play,
Right.
So I can leave you with that, because I know you and I think the same. I don't have to push you too far.
I appreciate that. All the best. We talk again, John Bostwick.
Steve, you take care, man. And I continue to listen. I continue to support. And God bless and guide you.
All the
God
best
bless
to you.
this Bahamas.
God bless and guide you too, John Bostwick. Yeah, John Bostwick talking with me. He normally was here on a Wednesday. And so it's quite appropriate and quite a treat for him to call in today and talk for the final few minutes here. Hard copy, what you want to tell me?
Good day, Steve. How you doing?
I'm in good shape.
Yeah, calling just to touch on two things, the crime situation and then immigration.
Mm-hmm.
The crime situation, I feel that what they need to do is go back to some of the strategy that the Lyndon used when he was prime minister.
Mm-hmm. Some of his strategies, eh?
Yeah, like local constables,
Mm-hmm.
the work in the inner city,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which they used to call with district constables,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
they are known as local constable. If they bring up form a body of local constable,
Mhm.
the work in those in the city, they can help slow down some of this gunslinging all over the place, like Clitty's what.
I understand. What's the other idea?
And the next thing is immigration. I feel that Fred is doing a good job, but then you guys look at the whole scale of this, because a lot of Bahamians are being effective inside this thing. They are being bamboozled in this as well, who have children, some of these foreign women who work and live here on work permits.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
understand me?
it's
And
a
a
big
lot of
problem.
Bahamian men, they may not call your show, but I be on the street every day moving and listening. They are just sitting and watching this whole thing. A lot of them just not calling the shows, but they are listening.
Yeah. It's a serious thing. We have to work it out. And I take the fact that people are tired of doing a number of things. A fella tell me,
I mean, not to cut you off, but we have a lot of work to do with immigration.
No
Everybody is frustrated about the whole situation, but my concern is the Bahamians who are being wrapped up in this for so many years, living with some of these not married, having children or the wedlock and all these stuff like this. But that don't mean is that the woman that they live with is illegal. Some of these women are living maids and other stuff in this country.
mm-hmm. Yep.
You understand what I'm saying?
Very clearly. And we've been dealing with it.
Yeah, children with some of them.
We've been dealing with it on this show, and we will continue to deal with it because it has to be cleaned up. I appreciate your call, and I appreciate your suggestion of going back to something old that once was proved and tried and proven, the local constables.
I can let you go now. See, the other things that didn't really had a problem with was drug movement, but crime was not as bad.
Yeah, that's true. Even in the drug heyday, crime wasn't as bad. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Certainly, we didn't have this amount of murders. You may have heard about somebody gotten killed over some drugs, but that was at a minimum. If you go back, and I lived through it, and I wrote through it, and I was in the business of journalism through the whole thing, so I can tell you. That's why I tell you a lot of times it is very, very prudent for the youngsters who are now in this business too, and are very, very good at what they do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put them down. I'm telling you they're very good at what they do. They're diligent, and they are hardworking. They want to get the story, but a story is not just what is happening today. It cannot be in a vacuum. You've got to be able to make comparisons and look back at some things that took place, the precedents that has been set on certain issues, and you've also got to know these people you're quoting as top sources. They may be persons that you like because you don't know their political background in a big way, and when you make a big story about what they say, there are a lot of us who are still around who suck out their dead hard. That's what they talk about. They got to be joking. Because that ain't the real McCoy. And these are people with agendas. I call them the surrogates. They're still doing some things, and you can't blame them if they're trying to get paid. But don't be mashing up nobody and believe that no one can challenge you. Especially don't mash up no young people, because I will challenge you. And invite you on the show so that you can defend yourself, because I'm a fair man. But I got questions that I want to ask you all too, you surrogates. What's this really all about, Alfie? We don't need nobody who got this track record that we could remember very clearly, trying to set us on another course when the real McCoy is, see, Lang don't want to talk about immigration. We didn't know that. Lang don't want to talk about nothing but immigration for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just know that this is the best move that we've had in a long time from a government that we elected. When you look at the track record of the Free National Movement on this matter, it's not a pretty matter. Track record is not pretty. So I don't know why Lang is being bent to the shape when the fact is Bahamians can't work. He talked about jobs down in Grand Bahama that are not being had. And if you really check, you'll see who working. That same thing happened in Abaco. You think the people in the Pigeon Pea in the mud complaining about anything? Man, the only thing they complain about is that Mitchell don't want to come down and get their people home or send them people home. They ain't complaining about that. They running the economy. They got the jobs. While our boys are what you call muggling. That's the new term for among the young boys. They're just muggling, man. I don't know what it really means. I suppose it means that they just hang it out. Whatever happens, happens. They just muggling. This is where we at. But let me tell you how this whole thing began as I wrap up here tonight. This whole thing began in January. The Guardian alluded to it this morning in their story on the Brave Davis scenario when they quoted Christie. That was from an interview that I had done on the National Broadcasting Network, ZNS, in January of this year. This is what the Guardian quoted that perhaps would have caused this serious run for leadership by others in Christie's grouping, because Christie was asked one simple question by me, in January, on this whole matter of remaining as the leader. And of course, I put the question as lightly as I could because I want him to speak to it. It's a very interesting thing. This is what started this whole thing, believe it or not. You've spent 40 years in politics, 40 solid years in politics. Right. Should we expect that you're going to extend that to 45 by 2017?
To tell you the truth, at this stage, I do not know. What I do know is that it's going to take compelling reasons for me to remain. And those reasons have to do with people, a lot of party sentiment, my colleagues who are with me in government. I will never, ever contemplate doing something like extending myself unless there were compelling reasons to do so. And the organization, I can tell you, I'm having from all quarters, all over the Bahamas, people who are saying to me, you have no place to go. I know how that amounts to disappointment in the form of people who expect or who aspire to be leaders of the PLP. And I expect in a democratic country, just like Nottish decided to run, Dr. Nottish, to run against me and at a time when I least expected it, because, but he's my friend and he's my friend for life. Right? He ran against me. We had a contest. I won the contest. The next moment I said, come, my brother, let's get back together. Let's move on. So that's the way in which we deal with issues of this kind. I told my family when we started the campaign in 2012, this was the final campaign for me. I do know that people like Charles Carter would come to me and say, man, stop from talking about you going. People see you as a lame duck. Say nothing about it. And so I just stopped talking about it. Understood. As I stopped talking about it, then everybody became strident. Oh, he's staying on. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, he's doing that. But something has to happen tangibly, politically, for there to be an understanding that I'm going to remain in public life. Now, there's lots of people. There's every reason for me to believe that the basis of it exists. But, for me, I choose to focus on the fact that I have an opportunity to be a defining prime minister in this term, that I've had 40 consecutive years in public life. By the time I go to an election, I may have reached the stage almost of Sir Lyndon Pindling, meaning that only Sir Roland Simmons is ahead of me. Now, I have to be crazy to be thinking of Sir Roland Simmons, because I'm not going to live that long, because he did 50 plus years, 50 years at least. And so for me, moving forward, I'm hoping that I'm in good health. I am able to demonstrate that I'm very energetic, that I have a tremendous grasp, I think, of the country and where it should be going, that I'm amused when people talk about they need something new, because I think the policies and the innovations I'm introducing are new to the Bahamas. And quite frankly, one of them will be a national plan.
So there you have it. From the archives of hard copy, you heard Christy. There are many people who believe that there's something about doing something new, but he's doing all the new things now. And that's going to be embodied in his national development plan that you will see. That I suppose will be announced somewhere around in July during our anniversary of independence. It'll be what, 42 years thereabouts? Or 43, whatever. Point is this, that I don't know how it sounds to you, but Christy is making plans to be open-minded, he says. He's open-minded about it. He could stay and he could go. He realizes the disappointment on the faces of others when it seems like he's going to stay. And then he also said that people are telling him he should stay. So you got nowhere to go. Charles Carter, broadcaster Charles Carter, told him, say, man, don't be talking like that. Say, you sound like you can be a lame duck if you talk like you can. So he stopped talking about it. And because he stopped talking, but he said people became strident. There are people who are now, he ain't so sure what's going to happen, but they right there in position. And that's why I suppose when Christy would have seen, and this is just my own little thought I'm sharing out loud, suppose when he would have seen Wilchcombe say what he said in the papers, and then Leslie coming here following that day and saying something too, that he probably started to feel like, well, wait a second, are the walls closing in? And a hint of the walls closing in on him may have caused media to start to get into a frenzy. I'm trying to give a psychoanalysis to what perhaps happened as to why we get these headlines, when in fact, the people could care less about what they're trying to do. The people are basically looking with eager minds and vision to a future that's going to benefit them. They're not too particular with all this talk about who could lead. But boy, it sure made some people excited, like Leslie Miller when he was there. Leslie said, boy, I see Obi with this thing, but I believe that Brave is the man.
I would wish to see my good friend Brave Davis ascend to the top echelon in this country. I think he's deserving of it. I think he's worked very hard. We call him the go-to man in the Progressive Liberal Party. I believe firmly that he is deserving of an opportunity if the Prime Minister decides to step aside. I don't know what Ms. Christie's future is, whether he wants to go another term or not. But it is my intention to support my friend, Mr. Davis, to give him that opportunity to run this country. I believe he has the wherewithal to do so. I think he'll do a good job.
Mm-hmm. So obviously a hard copy, we go behind the things that will get you the soundbite that are memorable, that make the archives that we can go to anytime and let you hear what the people say for themselves. And, it is just whose report you believe. Our track record has been one of, this is what happens in the season, and we keep a good record as to why these things happen and to let you hear for your own self that this is what was really said. And then you can decide for yourselves as to what the real McCoy is. Mm-hmm. Good. Let's go home, Irvin. You don't want to go? There you go. Let's go home. That's our show for today on Hard Copy. A lot about nothing as far as this whole cloud storm about leadership and changing leadership and all this politicking. Now, can we return to the crux of the matter and work assiduously to correct some things together? Can I hear a shout and a hue and cry and outrage by the Bahamian people so that we can get some things done? They're listening, They're trying to make some corrections. Don't be discouraged. You see this thing on immigration. You see Lang get hit, Lang talking. You see Mitchell stand back and say, no, this the deal. Yeah, we're making some inroads. It's slow and tedious, but we're making some inroads. That's just all right with me.